here. What's up, chat? Happy Friday. We've got a big slate today. Trying to get all my screens set up. A little bit of a late start. That's on me. But today, big old slate. And now we have at least one game of data to go off of for every team. So on opening night, we didn't quite, we still are kind of guessing since it's a young season, but at least we have a point of reference to look at for minute rotations, bench roll, stuff like that. Obviously, read between the lines on foul trouble, stuff like that. But a little bit more information, and more information is better because opening night I made a bunch of wrong guesses. So now that we have a little bit more to work with, I'm pretty excited about that. Hopefully you guys are off to a good start in your NBA season. I personally, I like the more condensed 6 to 8 slates, right? I don't like the super small slates. I don't love the super big slates because of how much news you got to keep tabs on. The 6 to 8 is really where I'm happiest. But we start the season off with double digits, 2, 3 double digits. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully it settles down. Shout out to the live chat. What up, Crispy? What up, Mighty Saint? What up, Tim? Neville? James and Kiefer, also Ben Haynes. I appreciate that sub. Welcome to the channel. And if anybody else is out there, be sure to drop a hey in chat. We are fully interactive during this little research session. Raj just told me he got called into the office, so it's just me. Between me and you, I prefer that for now, just because of how big this slate is with a late start, and it'll help me keep time a little bit better. So I believe I have most of my screens ready. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get caught up fully on news before we get too invested in game by game research, and then that will lead us into our research. You guys let me know if the music's too loud, too low, and we will go from there. All right, let's pop open. Let's pop open the main screen. What up, Bane? Been watching me for years, man. I appreciate that. Hey, as always, this stream is brought to you by RunDFS.com. That's the place where we don't just play DFS, we run DFS. I'll talk more about it later on in the stream. But if you guys ever want access to the spreadsheets, my personal player pool, stuff like that, it's all over there at RunDFS.com. So lots of good stuff. Oh, did I not put totals? I didn't put totals in before I updated. I'm looking at Discord real quick. What up, Matthew? Hope you're doing all right. Just put food in the oven. Oh, okay. Jake's a troll. Pop open the spreadsheet here. I didn't slap in totals. That's a problem, but it's all right. We'll add them. We will add them. All right, let's just jump into it. Wizards and Bulls. Wait, actually not yet. I'm all over the place. Let's get caught up on news first, then we'll jump into it. So we're going to open up Underdog NBA. Key news to watch as of 3 p.m. Eastern. Jokic listed as probable. Jamal Murray, questionable. Dylan Brooks, doubtful again. Cole Anthony, questionable. Game time decision. Denny Avdija, expected to play. And then scroll down a little bit more. Jalen Williams, blah, blah, blah. Cole Anthony, illness. Kim Birch says he's available. Joe Harris going to make his debut. Good to see that. And from last night, Kawhi said he'll likely sit out one leg of the upcoming back-to-back. All right, cool. Now, Bulls and Wizards. First game on the docket, project starting five for the Bulls: Ayu Dosunmu, Alex Caruso, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, and Nikola Vucevic taking on Monte Morris, Bradley Beal, Denny Avdija, maybe, and Kyle Kuzma, Kristaps Porzingis. 2-2-2 and another one, too, is our total 2.5 point spread in favor of the Washington Wizards. So Monte Morris maybe turned some heads on opening night with the day that he put in. I can't imagine they have game logs updated. Do they? They didn't yesterday. They do. Opening night, 21 minutes for Monte Morris. He had 27.5 fantasy points. One of the most productive per minute games for Morris I think I've ever recalled. And then I also know that that's somewhat of a product of Indiana down the stretch last year was one of those defenses that I went and picked on. But it was nice to see Monte Morris be able to do that. And sometimes you think, him without Jokic, just an interesting thought. But I don't think that's going to be something that stabilizes going forward, because there's still a lot of high usage guys on the team. But maybe if he continues to play more pure point guard, sharing the court with guys like Porzingis and Beal, maybe. Did not play in the fourth quarter. We saw DeLon Wright close out, Will Barton, Bradley Beal, Porzingis, and Kuzma. So maybe that's something to watch going forward, and maybe that's something to lean on for first half props on PrizePicks for now. So just something to keep an eye on. We know that Porzingis and Beal are going to sustain elevated usage on this team. And then on the other side, the Chicago Bulls, once again without Zach LaVine, also without Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan at 8,700 on DraftKings. He was the slate breaker on opening night, right? The highest scoring stud. And he was a guy that I was pessimistic about because of the matchup. And hey, my fault, right? 37 real points in that game, 64.5 fantasy points. And now the matchup, arguably a better one, more implied real points here, 222 total. So DeRozan's got to log in as somebody that we should be immediately interested in. The FanDuel price point, a little bit rough, without the added bonuses and stuff like that. But DeRozan's not a guy that I expect to get double-doubles out of, right? I think he's going to fill a stat sheet solid enough. So I still think he's in play on FanDuel for me, because he obviously still has a chance to be the highest scoring player. But the 8,700 on DraftKings feels pretty solid. So I'm going to open up my worksheets here for both FanDuel and DraftKings. And I definitely think on DraftKings, I'm going to at least start at a tier 2 on DeRozan and kind of go from there. Vucevic, I'm more interested in this game than last game. The matchup against Bam Adebayo on opening night last year, Adebayo was one of the toughest matchups for centers to score against. Porzingis ain't no slouch either, but I'm a little less intimidated. At 7,500, I certainly feel like that's a price point I can get behind. If we draw back to the beginning of last season and do a quick usage check, we'll put DeRozan and Vooch on the court, and we'll take off Lonzo and Zach LaVine. I believe Vooch, if I had to guess, was around 25% on the usage rate. And that's something I think could play for me here as prices start to get a little bit better. They're certainly not perfect. 46 fantasy points in that last game, 5 for 13, so double-digit shot attempts, 17 rebounds. So, wow. Yeah, certainly someone that can put in a good day's work at 7,500. So, referencing the query, Vucevic last year in this split actually led the team in fantasy points per minute with a 25% usage rate as expected, and then DeRozan's right at that magic number 30%. So both Vucevic and DeRozan certainly guys that I would jot down on the DraftKings side of things. Let's put DeRozan, and perhaps in shorter formats, right? Single entries, maybe even cast games. Guys that correlate just fine to maybe combine for 100 fantasy points. I'm still interested in Bradley Beal. 8,200 on FanDuel, 8,600 on DraftKings. Certainly did not win that price range on opening night, but 38 minutes, we're talking almost 40 minutes of opportunity, almost 20 shot attempts. The peripherals were okay, could be better, could be worse. I still, this is an opportunity, especially on DraftKings. Went from $9,600 on DraftKings 286. He dropped $1,000 in price. So I'm certainly going to go right back to the well on him, and it does correlate with my early interest in DeRozan and Vucevic. So let me start him off here, and then we'll have to watch the Denny news. That could change, as we saw in the second half of last game. That's where Will Barton clocked in, and he stayed in for a bulk of the game. That certainly changes the scope of usage. Let's get caught up on chat, and then we will move on. Danny got hurt. Yeah, he got hurt. Questionable here. What up, JNY? What up, Pojen? Ruben, how you feel about DeMar's props? That's a great question. Let's go look at Chicago's props first of all. DeRozan is at 27.5 real points, 37.5 PRA, and 42.5 fantasy. So the fantasy is probably something I'm more interested in throwing a blanket over, just to kind of throw a net over everything. Let me see what I got him at on fantasy. For PrizePicks scoring, DeRozan, I had him at 43 early on, and that's about linear with theirs. I'm slightly above, but I'm also willing to buy into a ceiling a little bit more. Healthy total, healthy spread, and then Vooch as well. What was Vooch's at? I'm gonna refrain from putting either on my notepad just yet, but we might be able to get there. 38.5 fantasy points. I think I'm at 45. So I got a really nice margin of difference for Vucevic on my PrizePicks leans early on. Bro, last time I saved this notepad, it was like home run props, so I always have to delete it. So that's a maybe early on for Vooch and DeRozan. And then on the other side, what is Bill at? 37.5 fantasy points. I feel like we're getting a little bit of wiggle room here. I'm getting about a 7-point margin of difference there. So somewhat interested. And then pushing back Porzingis, I'm getting a similar projection as Vucevic, around 40. So I don't mind going there. And then Kuzma was lighting it up in the first half of that game. He's up to 7,100. I actually finished with almost 50 fantasy points, 13 rebounds, 22 points. That's impressive to do when you're sharing the court with Porzingis. But I also, like I said, the Pacers up in pace. I mean, they had Terry Taylor, for God's sake, on the court. That was the game where Miles Turner got injured with the ball boy before game. So faster pace, lower length, and bigs, maybe 13 or double-digit rebounds isn't going to be game to game, but we've certainly seen him have those spike rebound games last year. So I don't know if it's an anomaly at this rate with the history that we have from last year, but it's certainly something to keep in mind. I do think having Bill, Kuzma, and Porzingis between 7 and 8K, there's going to be nights where they vulture each other. Only one guy has a true ceiling if it's a regulation game. So maybe I put them all in a group and kind of make sure I don't get more than 2 of the 3 at these prices, but I guess we'll have to play that as we keep going forward, you know. I remember that Bobby D made through the main site. No, I forgot about that. I actually picked up when I picked up my phone today. So I had the most elaborate message on one of these YouTube videos about how I need to change my process for baseball, and I was like, what? That's like my thing. But I feel bad when people are I don't know, don't really know what to do with information, you know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah, let me move on to the next game, which is, let's go Charlotte. Charlotte hosting the Pelicans. We got 226 total here. We're gonna go 6.5 spread favor of the visiting Pelicans. Pelicans showed up and showed out against the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe kind of surprised the spread is this low, considering what they did or were able to do against the Nets. And it certainly feels like they're maybe more talented and healthy than the Nets without LaMelo Ball. So maybe 6.5 is a little bit light. But for fantasy, Charlotte continued to be a team we wanted to pick on, like we saw on opening night. We go pull up. I want to go pull up opening night usage rates for Zion, because Zion was cooking. And this is a matchup last year we went nuts with, and I do think Zion has a chance. And not to be overreactionary to game one, Zion could be pushing high 9Ks, and he's already at the 9K area. So let's pull night one results for New Orleans. Zion. I'm just put Zion on and see what his usage overall was. What up, Dylan? Hope you're doing all right. Okay, JJ. Listen, buddy. You know what? YouTube flagged that comment, and I should just let it be flagged. 28 minutes, 35% usage rate, nuts. And the stat sheet sure was stuff. So you put him against a team like Charlotte in front of MJ. I'm a little bit interested. 9 rebounds in that game. Just missed that double and that would have put him over the hump on 50 fantasy points. So dropped 130 real points. Blowout. Is there room for more minutes in a competitive game? Maybe. 226 total, like we said. I'm interested. Not going to be a core piece here, but I'm certainly still interested. And this is another one of those teams where I think they have enough pieces that are healthy balance. McCollum, Ingram, Zion, Jonas Valanciunas. That if they're at these prices, I can see slate to slate where more medium outcomes, like more average outcomes, there's going to be a couple 40 fantasy point games. So again, I probably set a group with them unless I have like a game stack where I limit the amount of overlap between the McCollum and Zion, like how often we get double ceiling games from them. But for the most part, I think they're viable in a vacuum considering this matchup. On the Hornets side, we go pop in the on-off core tool and show you guys Rozier and Oubre without LaMelo. And we do have to give respect for Herb Jones, right? Not on Herb. Was he clamping KD? Somebody said that, not me. Somebody said that, not me. Yankees coming back. Yeah, like they always say, right? It's not a series until the home team loses, right? I was hoping to steal one. I still think game one was a game we could have stole, but for some reason the Yankees had this plan that they were going to use Clark Schmidt and Frankie Montas, and they didn't have to. I just felt like they were ready to punt that game when it was all said and done, and they really were in it. Rozier, Oubre, we're working with usage rates 25, 23%, over a fantasy point per minute. I forgot to take off Bridges as well. Who are the best plays? Took Judge Homer. Oh my God, yes. If Judge sends that over the wall, maybe a different ball game. I'm not salty. I'm not salty. What do you mean? 1.13 fantasy points per minute for Rozier. Usage did spike up to 26% without Bridges on the court. So if Hornets are going to be competitive, stay in this game, you feel like one of Rozier and Oubre are catalysts in that. I think the Oubre price point's a little bit more intriguing, but yes, Herb Jones floating around there defensively is a concern, but at 226 total, I'm still a little bit interested. I think Rozier's always going to be a volatile ceiling click. There's going to be games in this scenario where he's liable to drop 30s, but we have seen him break a slate. I do think on a slate as vast as this one, you don't have to overinvest in the ceiling game if you don't trust it. So yeah, I'm kind of lukewarm with throwing Hornets in the tier 2s or higher right now. And I will have some Zion on, at least on FanDuel, if not both sides. I think if a game stays a little bit more competitive than last game, the double-double was coming. But he's going to need probably close to 50. These big slates, we're going to want full-on ceiling games. Pricing still has areas of opportunity to become more efficient. So at 9,200, you're probably going to want that 50 bomb from anybody on the slate at that price point, right? Is Jamal Murray out? I think he's questionable. Nick Richards, Plumlee could get in early foul trouble. Do we need to get that cute, Garrett? I mean, I don't think you're wrong. But like for instance, if I control F Bruno, and I know I poo-pooed on Bruno, but he's still 4,400 in that last game, was looking solid. I don't like that matchup per se, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that I'm gonna get a little too creative with my lineups, but I like the line of thinking. How did Nick look in that last game in terms of minute rotation? Because not only are we taking a little bit of a chance here, but we're also just hoping for foul trouble. And I don't know that on a 12-game slate, that's something we have to do. Nick Richards got 21 minutes. For what it's worth, he didn't play in garbage time. He got 21, and 21 is probably going to be around 20, the expectation. So 21 minutes, if that's going to do anything for you, I think point per minute is possible. I don't know if that's a full slate play for me, though, but I certainly won't. I don't want to be the reason you don't play it if you're on it, you know? What up, Andrew? It's Nick Richards, the 5 DOIs, and I think that's Book Night. What do you think about Hartenstein? Dude, Hartenstein went bananas the other night. And that's one of those plays, like, if you know he's going to play 40 minutes, yeah, I'm in. But I didn't know he was going to play 40 minutes. So I think that's, again, probably with a clearer mind, a play that I don't want to get too invested in. But we'll look at that game in a minute. Hope you're doing all right, Andrew. All right, let's move on to the next game. Pacers hosting the Spurs. Trey Jones, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sochin, Jakob Poeltl taking on Tyrese Halliburton, Chris Duarte, Buddy Hield, Terry Taylor, Jalen Smith. Total for this one is 232. Big time total. And 1.5 spread in favor of the Pacers. Spurs were really, really chalky opening night. And I think if you guys didn't pay attention or sweat the slate live, you may not be aware of how we got there as a community of Trey Jones enthusiasts. Trey Jones was really not that guy, pal, to start. And then there was a period in the fourth quarter where he was sharing the court with the mop-up crew, Gorgie Zhang, Langford, Isaiah Roby, Primo. So we got a little bit lucky, but on the inverse, in that first quarter, if he does what he was doing in the second half, or that first half, if he was doing what he was doing in the second half, probably would have been a big game. His first 6-minute stint, he had 2 points, and then he didn't really pick it up till the second half. All that said, I'm not going to give up on him because of how consistent he was last season, but I expect the Spurs will again come with elevated ownership. I do think that the field is smartened up. The pricing got a little bit better, almost 5K ish on both sites, so I really want that 30 plus fantasy points. And the thing is, I think it's very viable, very possible against the Pacers. The Pacers have been a Honeywell, as we said on last stream, for fantasy points. Indiana Pacers defensive rating. Let's go last, 60 games. Actually, that's probably too many, but still, 120.5 defensive rating. If we look at the season campaign last year, the Pacers were the 3rd worst overall defensive efficiency in basketball. It's that good of a matchup, and it's a good spot for these still underpriced Spurs. We did see Keldon Johnson get an increase on both sides, almost 7K. Need that 40 plus on a big slate like this, but there's still opportunity for him to do that, and still opportunity for the rest of the starting 5 to thrive against the Pacers. So Spurs are certainly going to be a team I invest in. Looking at Trey Jones, the ownership tonight for him almost half of what it was on opening night, and that's probably a response to the new price. But I'm still interested. What was the official minute count here? 24, and he could have played over 30 if there was a 4-minute stint there at the end. So could have got more minutes. Actually, I take that back. There was a 5-minute stint, 5-minute 20-second stint at the end where Trey Jones could have got a little bit more minutes. So I'm back on the Trey Jones well. And if we need to do a refresher on why, Trey Jones DKP by game log with 30 minutes. Let's go last 10 games. 30. So really solid shot at 30. But like I said, on a ceiling mindset tonight, that's what you need. You can't really walk away with a lot less than that, you know? But I'm getting solid projection there. I get about 35 fantasy points on PrizePicks. What is PrizePicks doing with the Spurs today? Trey Jones. $27. So I got a little bit of room. And then Poeltl. I like centers against the Pacers as is, but the centers against the Pacers without Miles Turner even more lucrative in my opinion. They got Jakob Poeltl for 10 rebounds, 13.5 points, so they imply him for a double-double. And they also have him at 34.5 fantasy points. I walked away with 40 fantasy points, so I'm getting about, actually almost 41, so about a 5-6 point difference. I think it's 6,200 on DraftKings. I really, really like that that spot for Poeltl. What was Poeltl? Poeltl was looking like one of the top 4 owned guys on the DraftKings slate, but I'm okay with that. I think the price is too cheap. On the Pacer side, Haliburton. I was more intrigued with his assist on opening night, and then looking at the roster he was working with, you might have guessed it, he had to do a little bit more shooting. 18 field goal attempts, 3 for 6 from downtown, 26 real points, still got the 7 assists. I mean, this guy is potentially a high 8K, 9+K player in a couple weeks. So 7,900, I like it. I like grabbing him in a 1-point spread on such a big total with his usage being what it is. And I'll go from there. Turner out again. If you guys missed it, Turner stepped on a ball boy or something in warm-ups. So that kind of was a unexpected move that the Pacers had to make. And in turn, they started Terry Taylor. So they didn't have a ton of true size. But Terry Taylor, Jalen Smith, and Isaiah Jackson are guys I kind of rotate as potential point per minute darlings I can get behind. And Terry Taylor, I don't know what's going on here, but he's listed as a shooting guard, and he has been since the beginning of last year on FanDuel. And he's a power forward center on DraftKings. So if you like the thought of getting a power forward center in your shooting guard spot for the low, Terry Taylor could be that guy. Underwhelmed on opening night, 24 minutes, but still, a guy that could have that opportunity to overachieve, especially since bigs usually have a little bit more of a stable floor than floating guards. But I wouldn't get too crazy with those guys. But I do like Haliburton quite a bit. And then Buddy Hield at 5,500 on FanDuel. I'm okay with that. Looking for about 30 fantasy points at that price point, and we know that he could be top 2 in shot attempts in this current breakdown. And then off the bench, our boy Benedict. He got 27 minutes of action, and I think he was pretty useful. Yeah, 34 fantasy points in that run, 15 shot attempts. So I think his price caught up to him really, really fast. But I kind of like the thought of him if I was stuck on this game, and I like the thought of 4,300 at 20. I'm getting a 28 fantasy point projection there. So maybe something I put in the risky value pool. Let me do that while I am thinking about it. What's up, 2/3 overtime game? Yeah. All right, cool. We can keep it moving. Yo, shout out to everybody chilling right now. Over 100 of you guys hanging out. Do me a favor, if you would, just hit that thumbs up, man. That's all I'm asking for. Would like to get over 100, maybe close to 200. You guys crushed it on opening day. We had over 300 concurrent viewers at one point. And that means a lot to me. So I appreciate you guys. And if as I'm going game by game here, feel free to chime in. If you've already done a little bit of research or you like people from games, throw their names in chat, man. Let's talk about it. Like to be as interactive as possible. It's it's not just me, right? It's a group discussion. And hopefully next week we'll have a little bit more of on-air back and forth. I'm sure Raj will make a show, and I'm gonna reach out to a few content creators, see if they want to sit in with me and talk some basketball, just so it's a little bit more lively from the listener perspective, all right, let's go to the Knicks game. Let's go to the Knicks. 219 total, 7-point spread in favor of the home team Knicks. And if we go back to that game, Knicks and Grizzlies went to overtime, and that bought an extra quarter of minutes for RJ Barrett, Jalen Brunson, Evan Fournier, Hartenstein and Cam Reddish. Now, Hartenstein did play 40 minutes, obviously because of overtime, but it should be noted that like he was playing tons of minutes in regulation as well. A lot of opposite Mitchell Robinson, who got in big foul trouble, so there is some correlation there. But we know Mitchell Robinson is a guy that can be foul prone anyway, a big block getter. So maybe this is our insurance policy to Mitchell Robinson throughout the season, and Hartenstein plays a little bit different brand of basketball based on his his stat sheet. So I would say if you're ever finding yourself this season investing heavily in Mitchell Robinson in your portfolio, I think the insurance policy is Hartenstein. So with that said, what do we expect from Hartenstein game to game? Well, do we expect him to be a 35-minute player? I think the answer is no if Mitchell Robinson is not in foul trouble, right? So maybe we don't overreact to the results, but at the same time, if he's going to be the direct backup, and even if they split minutes in the front court, 25 plus minutes might be enough to be invested in. 13 minutes, 5 fouls for Robinson, by the way. So something to keep in mind. I think the Robinson minutes, at worst, he probably gets another 12 minutes. At best, he might get another 18 minutes, you know what I mean? So I have Hartenstein for about half of what he put in last game. I got him at 24 minutes. Still at 24 minutes, I'm getting a 30 fantasy point projection, which is well enough to be invested in at both price points on both FanDuel and DraftKings. But again, we'll be a little bit more mindful of the situation, the game script that was for him. And then Memphis likely to be a little bit more more competitive than what we expect the Detroit Pistons to be, but that also could be a positive for Hartenstein if the scoreboard got a little bit lopsided. With that said, we're expecting a slower pace game here. 98 pace rating on the Pacers last year, or excuse me, on the Pistons last year. The Knicks at 96, so two slow pace teams. Pistons on opening night, we saw big minutes for a lot of their starters. And Cade Cunningham, 7,500 on DraftKings would probably be the guy I'm most interested in if I'm looking to get exposure to the Pistons. He put in over a fantasy point per minute on opening night, double-digit shot attempts against a similar pace team in the Orlando Magic. And then Ivy, one of the collection of names of rookies that had really solid games. And I'm always trepidatious to invest in Pistons players just because last year was such a carousel of production. But is Ivy going to be more expensive coming soon? I don't know. 19 real points, 3 steals. Are the 3 steals going to be something we lean on? Probably not, right? He's probably going to be more like a 1 steal per game guy. But you get what I'm saying. I'm just never that excited to play Pistons. Brandon, I appreciate that follow or the sub. Welcome to the channel. Hope you're doing all right. And then minute wise, we know RJ Barrett, looking back at preseason, he's probably going to lead the team in minutes per game. Jalen Brunson, I talked about what are the odds of him being a close to 8K player with his new role here. Is that possible? Looking for a point per minute. I'm just not that excited to get to this game in bulk. I'll just have loose shares, so like tier 3s and where they fall, they fall. I just don't see anybody in this game I feel like I'm going to have. But yeah, if you guys have a hot take, definitely throw it at me, right? Andrew Murray's questionable for tonight. Whether he plays will impact Halen's playtime. Brunson should have a big game. Let's go, Brandon. Who is the must-play value of the night? Well, we're only a quarter of the games in, but we can go look at the projection, right? And the projection is Bruno Fernando, Trey Jones. I like the thought of Trey Jones still dropping 40 plus. Santi Aldama went bananas. No Jaren Jackson still. Maybe he's somebody we're gonna have a serious discussion about. All these other names are just kind of meh for me right now. I think Jakob Poeltl, but he doesn't count as a value play. So I guess right now the 3 candidates would be Fernando, Trey Jones, and Aldama. And we'll discuss a little bit more. Robinson got a 20 mil contract. He's one of the most overpaid players in the NBA. Man, NBA contracts, we can go on for hours. What up, Jim? Hope you're doing all right, man. I haven't seen you in a bit. Chris, I appreciate the sub, man. Welcome to the channel. What's up, Been working a lot of hours. My day off, so I'm back. Love your show, man. I love you, man. Yeah, I think Jim might be the longest tenured channel member. I think there might be somebody with a purple panda. Or maybe it was you. I think you might be the longest, man. Kellen Johnson should have a huge game against it. Yo, Brandon brought the fire. Derrick Rose is the odd man out in New York. Looking at opening night. Derrick Rose, we played 12 minutes, so he's not the odd man out per se in terms of just like being DNP'd. I guess anyone who's DNP'd is the odd man out. But again, I also don't want to overreact to one game of sample. But Derrick Rose is not somebody that would be on my radar tonight after the results of game one, right? Julius Randle had a big night in that game as well. But that also just might be a depleted front court situation for Memphis to keep an eye on. All right, let's move on. Heat and Celtics. Yikes. I feel like whatever decision I make on this game is going to be the wrong decision, but I'm almost certain that my decision is going to be that I'm not going to be super invested in this game. But we'll see. Project starting five for the Celtics: Marcus Smart, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford. Taking on Marcus Smart, Tyler Hero, Jimmy G, Buckets, Caleb Martin, Bam Adebayo. 219 total, 2.5 point spread in favor of the Boston Celtics. So just referring to last year, and these are pretty similar lineups and team mantras, all that stuff. Yeah, the coaching situation for Boston's a little bit different, but it's also not. You know what I mean? Boston last year, number 1 defense. Miami, number 4 defense. And when it came to pace, Miami's second slowest pace on the season. Boston was bottom 10 as well. So generally, overarching thought would be that I'm not expecting much, but a lot of times two defensive teams, two negatives equal a positive, and they play closer. And we are getting price points that you see a little bit of a ceiling on. Jaylen Brown, 8,200, could certainly be 40 plus fantasy points. Jimmy Butler, 8,400 on both sides, could certainly be 40 plus fantasy points. So there's some pushback there. Bam Adebayo got an increase in price, especially on DraftKings, now over 7K. Need that 40 plus. The Celtics are going to be without Gallinari and the Time Lord again. I don't know, chat. I feel like I'm always pessimistic about these games and maybe needing them in terms of having the true nuts or the optimal player at the end of the night. So I kind of expect to not be here. Maybe some tier 3 exposures. I certainly think, without a doubt, one of the rules I'm setting in Cruncher is to not have Brown and Tatum in the same lineup, but especially on FanDuel. And those guys can fall where they fall. But generally, I just think there's going to be better spots, more fast-paced spots, higher scoring spots, and we're not dealing with tougher defenses. So the caveat or the pushback there is it could just be down to the wire and even go extras. But projection-wise, I feel like I got to have, I guess the Marcus Smart projection is nice, about 30 fantasy points at a less than 6K price point on both sides. Maybe the DraftKings is more intriguing. Why did I put Marcus Smart on the Heat? Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is also in the 5Ks. So maybe those guys net you at least a positive value rating. But even then, right, if Marcus Smart dropped 30 today, it'd be nice to have, but it's not like something that you can't win without. So I don't know. I think I'm going to be odd man out here, but I also don't think that's a hot take. Speaking of hot take, Obi-Wan says, I miss hot take Raj. I thought he was going to be on the show today, but he said he got called into the office. Is Conley someone you would target on FanDuel? Mike Conley? Probably not. But we'll talk about that. What else we got here? How many players would be in your pool with a slate this size? So, Nick, I run usually 2 size player pools. One is for 20 entry max, which is going to be a lot tighter. And then the other one's for 150, where it's not quite the entire slate, but it's like the 20 max with the ability to unlock more players that I wouldn't get to. So, I can't put I'll say in 20 entry max, I'm still looking for a core. You know what I mean? Like a couple, maybe 4 or 5 guys, maybe 6 guys that I have around and 50% exposure to, and then kind of mix and match around that. I don't get too thinned out. But but in the portfolio 150, it's allowed to be super wide open. But it depends. I think if you're trying to come up with a magic number for how many players should be in your player pool, just understand it's slate specific, and also I would say it should correspond with the amount of entries that you're running. What else we got here? Yo, Brandon, do you do content somewhere, bro? It's like you're copy and pasting some elite notes. Randall fouled out to start overtime. Yeah. But he was still crushing it. The most undervalued player on the slate to me is DeAndre Hunter at 5,200 on DraftKings. The Hawks offense has much more ball movement this year. He had a big first game and a good matchup. Yeah, I agree with Trae Young and DeJounte moving the ball quite a bit. And there's no Bogdanovich. So maybe when that comes back, it's going to change that a little bit. But that's not a bad idea. Try to talk me off of Scotty Barnes tonight. I dare you. You're what up, Ayo? Miami's defense has been horrible with Hero starting. That's actually a good point, Brandon. Makes no sense. They moved him off the bench. Yeah, usually they at least are stubborn about him coming off the bench just for that 6th man of the year award. But maybe they shake it up here. But that's a good point. That's more of a hole in the wing defense. So maybe a plus for Jaylen Brown in the Tatum versus Brown. But I still expect them to see a good share of Jimmy Butler. Hey yo. All right, let's move on from this game and let's go to the Hawks game. I'm trying to go faster. Like, I want to be more in depth here, but we have such a big slate, a little bit of a late start time. I don't want to get too caught up. I'm trying to get out of here in another 40 minutes. So if you feel like I'm cheap, oh man, I gotta turn off Slack. That thing's gonna be just going nuts for the next hour or so. Actually, all day, but 1 second, chat. Let me turn off alerts. Do you guys still use Slack at all, or is it just? All right, we got it. What's up, Absolute Power? Balanced lineup or stars and scrubs? So far, I haven't been too enamored with 10K, but I also don't feel like we talked about it. Actually, I think it has to be balanced because there's very few 10K plus guys that I feel like I have to go super crazy with. I do like John Morant, made him the cover boy. So I think balance, more so balanced than studs and scrubs, which is funny because usually the giant slates naturally breed studs and scrubs. But I guess it's your definition of a stud, right? Hawks hosting the Magic. Project starting 5 for the Magic. Cole Anthony, Terrence Ross, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Wendell Carter Jr. taking on Trae Young, Dejounte Murray, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Clint Capella. 225 total, 9-point spread in favor of the Atlanta Hawks. So we got a little bit of information in opening night. So I had a couple of stands and takes on opening night that burned me. One of them was being lighter on DeRozan against a Heat defense. And the other one was I wasn't that invested with DeJounte and Trae, at least not in the overlap. But man, were they overlapping and coinciding just fine. Let's pull up opening night. Actually, let's go to the rotations and opening night. And in the absence of Bogdanovich, and now the Houston Rockets, fast-paced, bad defense. So we do have to at least put an asterisk there based on the quality of matchup, quality of opponent. But man, Trae Young and DeJounte were thriving together. They played big minutes together, 37, 38 minutes, and put up dueling giant games. And it started to give me flashbacks of scenarios of teams in the past that have two obvious studs, like when KD and Westbrook were together on the Thunder. I remember running into like single entry cash game streets, knowing when I put those two together, I was walking away with no less than 100 fantasy points combined. I don't want to overreact this early, but in the absence of Bogdanovich, if we're going to get 37 minutes of Trae and DeJounte, is this a scenario where we might just imply ourselves for 100 points and go from there? And on a bigger slate, we can fill in the cracks with some more value. DeJounte, 56, Trae Young, 50, and DeJounte's a guy that can fill the stat sheet with defensive peripherals. 1 block, 5 steals. Now, the steals is a product of Rockets basketball. Even the block, too. Last year, I think the Rockets led the league in turnovers per game. So that's probably 6 volatile peripherals that have a chance to come backwards. Yeah, Rockets had 9.5 steals allowed per game last year, easily the most in basketball. And then blocks per game, they were top 3. So maybe we pull off the steals a little bit, and that'll be something that maybe hurts his FanDuel and PrizePicks projection. How did PrizePicks react to DeJounte now with those numbers? They have him at 44.5 fantasy points. Okay. But that is part of DeJounte's game. Last year, DeJounte averaged 2 steals per game. So it's not like he's not going to get steals, but certainly he had the glorious matchup with the Houston Rockets. The Orlando Magic run a lot slower in pace compared to the Houston Rockets here. So maybe closer to 2 steals in a game here. But that's probably a note that you guys should jot down if you're ever interested in DeJounte props for PrizePicks. If you can get it and feel happy about it, and like instead of PRA, you might be a little bit more interested in fantasy score just because he is a defensive peripheral getter. All right, let's get caught up on the injury report. Cole Anthony is a big one. Anthony was somebody that I didn't expect to be out in that last game, and then he was out with an illness. So looks like he was unable to practice on Thursday and will make a decision on the status after warm-ups. If Anthony's unable to go, Jalen Suggs will again see heavy usage after scoring 21 points on Wednesday. All right, cool. So if Cole Anthony doesn't play, slide in Jalen Suggs, and then we might see Terrence Ross again of Wagner. And then Banchero was a really solid play, and that's one of those plays I was a little bit embarrassed of being underweight on because it's your top pick, right? Your top dog. 35 minutes opening night, 27 points. Fill up the stat sheet as well. 47 fantasy points against a Detroit Pistons team. So Banchero might be one of those guys by December, 8-9K, and we're looking back at pricing to start the season, and we were like, man, he was 6,800 at one point. So I'm certainly not going to make that mistake again. And Atlanta's a defense that has to earn their keep for me here. Last year, bottom 5. So yeah. So that was a lot of talking. So I'm gonna jot down trade DeJounte for sure. I'm gonna play Banchero, and then we'll see about this Cole Anthony situation, all right? Capella's usage rate looks like it'd be much lower in the Hawks. I don't think Capella ever really had a massive usage rate to begin with. Really, his game is catch a lob, right? You're not going to see him do a whole lot of hook shots or fadeaways or anything like that. You're surely not going to see him hit free throws. Let's go look at that rotation for opening night. Capella played 26 minutes. He did touch the court in the fourth quarter, and that was something that he was at jeopardy of not doing last year, is not closing games because of the free throw problems. So something to keep an eye on. I do know that I was invested in his first half props last year. Him, Steven Adams, guys like that. I loved in the first half, and it was the Houston Rockets, and that kind of let me down. But what are you gonna do? What up, Paul? Atlanta had 30 assists in Game 1. Offense had 4 more ball movement. Yeah, I think DeJounte and Trae Young sharing the court, you're going to get a lot of ball movement, and that's great. Going to try to get to your Discord first. It won't let me in. The free Discord in the link is in the description below. I don't really know how to troubleshoot not being able to get in. It looks like that link is working. Several guys are jumping in here. Willie Trill, Felix, M. the Great, K. Bonner. So... I don't know. Jim, I don't know. I'm not sure why it wouldn't work. What do we think of Malik Beasley revenge game? I think I saw a quote that said he wants to kill people in front. What up, Doug? What up, Arizona Drama? Hope you're doing all right. Assume we should have another good game tonight. Shooting better. Yo, Brandon is low-key either an NBA information bot. I bet the NBA professionally, so I follow players' teams closely. I don't do content. Well, I appreciate your well-worded input into chat. Like, it's so grammatically great and thought out that it looks like content. Now that Trae Young has the ball, Les Capella isn't getting lobs and passes. Yeah, but again, one game, right? We could see some more evolution as chemistry builds. What's up, Moose? I appreciate you. Nets hosting the Raptors. Let's do that one. What up, Tyrell? Hope you're doing all right. 227.5 total. I think that should be like the theme of today's lesson is it's great that we have a point of reference and data and information after one night. But not everything that happened on opening night is gospel, right? We talked about a couple of what will probably be outliers, like the Hartenstein minutes situation with Mitchell Robinson foul trouble, stuff like that. And then you don't want to overreact or underreact to stuff. So I think rookies having explosive opening nights, that's something that I think we should appreciate and value. And then other scenarios that would be a little bit more trepidatious about buying as fact after just one game. Raptors project starting 5, Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, taking on Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Royce O'Neal, and Nick Claxton. Seth Curry listed as out. TJ Warren listed as out. Joe Harris gonna play. Huge. Chris Boucher listed as questionable. And then we've got a 227.5 total. And the Nets favored by 2.5. Nets came out flat against the Pelicans, or maybe the Pelicans just came out and got punched in the mouth and they couldn't recover. I think we all know that they have a lot more talent than a lot of talent to be that bad. So yeah, would you guys have any fire takes about the Nets here? I think Ben Simmons is too cheap. That's probably the most fire take I got. I do think the Raptors deserve a respect defensively. Last year, they weren't that elite lockdown unit, but they also were a little bit more healthy or unhealthy game to game. I think early on they're going to be as fresh as they're going to be, and Scotty Barnes, Siakam, Anunoby, like those are guys I respect. So a little bit of reading between the lines here, but also Kyrie and Kevin Durant are two of the best players on the planet, and I don't really want to overrate the defense to slow them down, but at the same time, we're dealing with high price points on a big slate. So do you guys have any fire hot takes about this one? Projection wise, I'm not getting massive grades per dollar. I do like the Ben Simmons projection, and that was something we looked at a little bit based on his preseason contributions. He had 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 points, 6 fouls in 23 minutes. If he doesn't foul out, what does his minutes look like? Looking at the Brooklyn minute log against the Pelicans, he had almost no minutes in the fourth quarter. It did get into garbage time not too much further after he fouled out, but could 23 minutes be closer to 30 minutes? I put him down at 28. I don't know. I might be out looking in and hoping that he doesn't have like a 40 fantasy point plus game against the Raptors here, but I also could see a world where he's 7.5K in a couple weeks. So I'm curious to see what you guys are thinking, because we saw in preseason he was playing a lot of true point guard, sharing the court with KD, with Kyrie. We saw a lot of big assist games. So certainly some chances for him to overperform, or for him to perform great at a 6,500 price point. Maybe it's a more lucrative price point for FanDuel, because we know he can be a guy that gets your defensive stats, right? The blocks and steals, especially the steals. But yeah. What up, Dominique? Who are your best players in the threes? So we actually just had this question a little while ago. I think my best answer would be, looking at the projections, 3K, yikes. I guess I don't really have, I guess Terry Taylor, if we had that same scenario where he starts, opportunity at that price point. But I don't have a ton of massive grades in the 3Ks on DraftKings. What up, Vic? Just want to say what up. Appreciate you keep bringing the real, but I can't win to save my life, missing the Matrix equation. Oh, man. Hey, Vic, so anyone that has had a rough go of it out the gate, like I was saying earlier, 2 game slates, 10 game, 12 game, 2 game. We went from super small to super big. The variance in the big slate is chaos, and the smaller slates are just like such coagulated ownership. Basically, don't be results oriented on those 2 slates, or on those 2 types of slates. If you're looking for ways to get in where you fit in, I think for me the more manageable and the most profitable in my career have been the 6 to 8 game slate. So maybe just track your results on the size slates, and always kind of look at your approach, what you're doing, and then always look at the scores at the end of the night and kind of explain what happened. You know what I mean? Thibodeau likes Robinson for his defense, but Robinson's so limited offensively. Nick's spacing offense much better with Hartenstein on the court. I definitely agree with that, but at the same time, I don't know that Tibbs. Like, I don't think Tibbs. I don't see him changing the game plan because he does have Randall, RJ Barrett, and Brunson. But I agree with the spacing. Hartenstein is, like, we called him last year, Baby Jokic, right? He's not Jokic, he's Jokic. Ben Simmons triple-double. Let's go. Simmons seems like he's still having mental issues. Oh, man. Plan B. What up, Plan B? The picture of Zion holding Katie and Kyrie, like, oh, my God. Looking at Thibodeau's rotations, you can tell he was frustrated with Mitchell. Robinson didn't even bother to put him in for a 6 foul and let Isaiah ride it out. Yeah. Hot take for the Nets is Kyrie Irving will insert foot and mouth and screw something up this year. Oh, I love Terry, Indy center today, 35 plus. Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking at the 3K area, I think Terry Taylor would be my best guess. But I also would say that he's not without volatility. A lot of high production per minute guys that could stifle a little bit. The Isaiah Jacksons, the Jalen Smith. What's up, Toasted? What up with Downs? If Halliburton is my highest priced player, am I losing too much upside in my lineups? Well, first of all, I'm going to say I like Halliburton a lot. Looking at him versus everyone above him. Ingram, Siakam, Butler. I think Bill at 8,600 has a ceiling if you don't have... I also don't like how many lineups are you running. I think Bill and DeRozan have ceiling at their price point that I wouldn't want to be without, but it depends on how many lineups. And then looking at the 10Ks, like, I don't think you're missing a whole lot if you sit out on the 10Ks. I think John Morant has 50-60 in him, especially if Brooks is out. Trae Young and DeJounte, I think, are fine, but I think they're appropriately priced. So the short answer would be no, but I would probably say revisit DeRozan and Beal just to know that you're making that decision. But I think this is a really solid slate and an opportunity early in the season to still remain at the balance area. And looking at my value projections, I didn't have a ton of 3Ks glory yet to begin with. So what's up, Dez? What's up, Mark? Hope you're doing all right. Mather should have another good game. Yeah, I like that call. Simmons is garbage. DeRozan, yeah. All right, let's move on to the next game. So basically, if you have a feeling in your bad knee on a ceiling game for a Kyrie or a KD, because they're gonna come and they're gonna be frustrating at 5% own as slates progress. I just don't have a hot take. I know somebody mentioned Scotty Barnes. They're really high on Scotty Barnes. I'm getting a solid projection. The Raptors are a team that we've seen be pretty concentrated in minute distribution, right? We know that these starters are going to play a lot of minutes. I don't really see a gaping hole price-wise. Van Vliet, could he get 40 plus? Yeah. Does he need it on a 12-game slate at this price? Yeah. I don't know that there's a gaping hole for a ceiling game if we just, running the simulation here. But I certainly wouldn't push back any one of these price points in a vacuum if you like them, Morant might break his own personal number today with Houston playing no defense. Yeah, Morant's really the only stud that I can't see myself going to battle without. Rockets hosting the Grizzlies. Speaking of Morant, let's go cover boy analysis. 232 with a 7-point spread in favor of the visiting Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, John Concher, Santi Aldama, Stone Cold Steven Adams taking on Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Eric Gordon, Jabari Smith, and Bruno Fernando. Certainly some news to watch here. By the way, has Underdog tweeted anything since we've been live? Just stuff to keep an eye on, Denny is active, so that's good to know. Frank Ntilikina rolled out. Keegan Murray conditioning. All right, so nothing major. Now let's go look at news for the Grizzlies, and let's look at Dylan Brooks because that's a big spot. Dylan Brooks is doubtful, right? Left thigh soreness, doubtful. Brooks appears poised to miss a second straight game, which means another night in the starting lineup for John Concher. Played well. All right, cool. So let's go use the Add More Funds NBA Wowie, and let's go Memphis. And you guys don't need me to really exercise this, but it's a big opportunity for John Morant's usage rate tonight, and then Desmond Bane as well. And I think Bane would be somebody I'm interested in for like props as well. I would assume that they started his points at over 20, but remember, no Jaren Jackson Jr., no Dylan Brooks, and then we're getting able to point and say this is where your volume is coming from. We've got 250 minutes, 370 minutes of sample for this, 1.4 plus fantasy points per minute on John Morant. Actually, the minutes went over 2,200. Just insane per minute production at 35% usage rate. If there was a stud at 10K or more that I had to put my hat on tonight, it's going to be John Morant against the Houston Rockets. It's just that matchup. 7-point favorites are the Grizzlies here, but man, Rockets are the gift that keeps on giving, and we saw more of it on opening night where DeJounte Murray and Trae Young were able to coincide fantasy-wise. Last year, the Rockets, I believe they had the triple crown, right? They were the one of the fastest paced teams, if not the fastest when it closed, worst defensive rating, and then the turnover rates were just nuts. So and also points in the paint allowed, I think they were the worst, right? Yeah, they gave it the most points in the paint allowed. And that's great news for John Morant. If you watch his game, he likes to go straight to the rack and attack the rim. So big time spot for John Morant. It's going to be one of my favorite studs to target. I'm getting a 50 plus fantasy point projection. If I put the entire slate, I got him second to just Jokic right now in raw fantasy points on both sides. So just a big time matchup for him. Did we have an egregious projection ownership wise for Ja? No, I last I got from this morning, single digit ownership. So your boy might be living and dying by John Morant. Looking at this query, we also have Desmond Bane rocking a 22% usage rate, almost a fantasy point per minute, and because of the matchup, I can apply him for a little bit more, and we know he's going to chuck a lot of threes. 43.5% of his shot attempts, or no, he had a 43% three-point field goal rate in this split, and then we know a bulk of his shot attempts are going to be from behind the arc. Looking at opening night for Desmond Bane, we had 22 field goal attempts. Over half of them were three-point attempts, and he shot just 3 for 13. So I immediately want to go look at PrizePicks and see what we can get on Desmond Bane. 20.5 points, 3.5 three-pointers made, and then what was the team metric results in terms of three-pointers allowed per game? Houston was still top 10, but I expected him to be a little bit higher. But I guess you can't be allowing the most points in the paint and also the most three-pointers. That would just be weird. So Desmond Bane, 3.5 three-pointers, a little bit intriguing. I do think that's up there, but man, if you're gonna take 13 shot attempts from behind the arc, sure, I'll take a shot on that. And the other guy maybe we talk about, chat, is Steven Adams, and not necessarily from a DFS standpoint, but just from a what do we do with him standpoint. He ended up catching up almost to a per minute production fantasy wise, 33 minutes, 28.5 fantasy points. But the first half was not what you want, especially if you were like me and you were invested in his first half fantasy prop over on PrizePicks. Adams had plenty of minutes in the first half, played 8 minutes in his first stint, 2 rebounds, 1 foul, that was it. And then in that second stint in the second quarter, 6 minutes, 2 rebounds. Last year, he was one of the first half juggernauts. Maybe I should look looked a little bit more of him on the court with Ja Morant. Maybe a lot of those big games were the Ja Morant-less team where it was like Tyus Jones and Dylan Brooks and Baines and stuff like that. But someone I want to keep an eye on because we love centers against the Houston Rockets. And speaking of centers or just bigs in general, Aldama, 4,300 on FanDuel. He's looking like one of the best value projections for me on FanDuel. Extremely underpriced, I guess, if stuff like night one continues. He's actually projecting as the best points per dollar play for me on FanDuel right now. So if you're on FanDuel, I think you jot that name down because he's certainly not a household name. But I think early on we're gonna get him punched in as a potential core value here, right? And then looking at the rotation. Aldama, 38 minutes. Of course, we take out the 5 minutes overtime. We're still getting 30 minutes of action. So I like him quite a bit. I think you see me with a lot of Aldama and Ja Morant, even Desmond Bane. I don't know. How often does a three-man Grizzlies starter stack on 11 games tonight be super optimal coinciding? I'm getting great projections for the three of them. I guess Desmond Bane is priced to where you could live without him if he had a more average game to the projection. I still think on a big slate like this, raw points are going to matter. So if you're a top three raw point scorer, which is what I got Ja Morant for, I think he finds his way up there. But maybe Desmond Bane, you can trim the fat a little bit, or you limit the overlap between the two. I don't know. Let's get caught up. Kyrie owes me money. What up, Chronic? Bane is a must with Ja, and I like Aldama. Yeah, Buddy Hield has a good matchup against San Antonio, like his usage rate. I like that. Cam Reddish is Kobe 2.0. Now, wait a minute. Crazy paying him for Curry. He'd be cooking the Nuggets. I don't think it's crazy, but you're dealing with that minute controversy. What up, Kickstart? The players are saying Denver doesn't defend the perimeter real poorly. All right, cool. Hey, let's not forget to run it back here with some Rockets. The Knicks were able. Oh, who just subbed? BTS. Appreciate the sub, man. Welcome to the channel. Kevin Porter Jr. in this split would probably be a guy that I want to run back a little bit. Memphis is a team last year we have a lot of respect for defensively. Without Ja Morant, they had one of the best defensive ratings in basketball. But now with Ja Morant, and then without Tyus Jones in the starting rotation, without Jaren Jackson Jr., who led the league, I think, in blocks per game. Like, their defense takes enough of a hit to where I would say don't forget about that, and then don't forget to play guys like Kevin Porter without Christian Wood this season. And then we know Jalen Green probably going to take a lot of shots. And then Fernando, night one, man, I don't know that I slept on him, but I certainly felt like he wasn't going to be as viable as he was when the results came in, and he was extremely viable. And you guys saw what Hartenstein was able to do. And I'm not comparing Fernando to Hartenstein, but the idea goes that, like, I think you can thrive at this price point still. I'm getting a 30 fantasy point projection. Cool. I think Kevin Porter is the guy I'm most intrigued with, especially with he's still small forward eligible on FanDuel, right? No, he's only point guard. Is he small forward on DraftKings? I feel like it's one of these sites for... No, point guard. All right, so he's point guard only on both sites, which is fine. That's exactly what he should be. But I do miss being able to play him in the small forward spot. So 6,800, I'm getting 40-plus fantasy point projection. So that 40-plus, I mean, that's something that should probably be priced at 7.5K, 8K, something like that. So I do think he's underpriced because of that on FanDuel. If you're just looking to run back some of your Memphis exposure, he'd be the guy. Last year, Kevin Porter on, Christian Wood off. We got a 25% usage rate for Porter, over fantasy point per minute. And then looking at opening night for Kevin Porter, 43 fantasy points, 20 plus real points, almost 20 shot attempts, and enough of the stat sheet to be in play. So yeah, but being point guard only hurts him because I want a lot of Ja Morant, and then I only have one spot to play with, right? Yeah. All right, cool. We got that. All right, let's move on to the next game. Actually, we probably need to take an ad break here. So let's do a quick shout out to our presenting sponsor, PrizePicks. You guys have been hearing me going back and forth between the game and the PrizePicks board. Mention trying to find a path of success on the small slates and the big slates, but especially the big slates from a DFS standpoint when you're managing your portfolio of lineups and what to do and how to rate guys, and you fall in love with a certain player early on and news comes out and then you overreact. I think PrizePicks or prop betting in general is a great way to take advantage of the chaos, and it's probably a little easier to do than a DFS lineup. So if you are looking for ways to not hate 10, 12 game slates, try it out. They allow you to prop bet fantasy points, which I think is a huge thing that they do differently than pretty much everywhere else, and it's one of my favorite lanes because I always find myself projecting a lot of players more aggressive than they do. But they also allow you to mix and match your prop bets with other sports as well. So if you're a multi-sport athlete when it comes to gambling, whether it be college football, soccer, baseball, NASCAR, stuff like that, you can mix and match, and they usually hook us up with some discounted stuff. So anytime you sign up using my code GUNDACKER, they show me some love, and then if you do that, you'll get your first deposit doubled up to $100. So hey, throw a $20 bill at them, they'll make it $40, and then test it out. I like it a lot. You guys see the testimonials on the screen. Let's go back into the board, and I will also collect hopefully 4 or 5, 6 of my favorite props to attack on PrizePicks tonight, and I'll post them in the free Discord. I will always, anytime I run it, I will always post it for the channel members for sure. So if you are a channel member, make sure you get in the Discord, link your account. But a lot of times, if I have time, I'll post it in the free channel as well. And if you're just looking for a community to join, we're trying to cultivate this back up with NBA being back. You see, we have the bots posting the news in the NBA channel, so you guys can talk your picks and whatnot, and also get up-to-date news during your conversation. So make sure you're in the free Discord, the absolutely completely free Discord. Yeah. That's it. Cool. Hey, yo, Monty, I appreciate the sub, man. Welcome to the channel. Porter's contract's really just 1 year deal. Houston can't get out of it after 1 year. It's capable. Yeah, I like the thought of Kevin Porter for fantasy, but he's also, maybe we overrate him because he's the only guy on a bad team, and like, is he as good as we think he is? Like, I don't know. Sometimes our DFS mindset can cloud our judgment on a player's real life basketball worth. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't like to hate on players. What are we doing? Minnesota hosting the Utah Jazz. Projects 25 for the Jazz. Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, Larry Markkinen, Jared Vanderbilt, Kelly Olynyk taking on D'Angelo Russell, crossing over with Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Karl Anthony Towns, the Big Cat, Ernie Ladd, and Rudy Gobert. 226 total. 8-point spread in favor of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Utah stunning some people on opening night. Larry Markkinen picking up where he left off in the summer. When I left off in the summer, 6K on both sides. I think he's a fun 30-plus fantasy point sweat if you're looking for late-night hammers. Clarkson, of course, has that ability to take over a game. 5,600, 30-plus fantasy points projection. I'm getting there. Then a lot of hype on the Malik Beasley revenge game. I'm not going to get too invested in that. Utah's a team generally I just kind of wrote off as a tankathon 5,000 type of team, but then they came out and slapped Jokic around, so I don't know what to think. Results wise, we got 33 minutes out of Markkinen, about 30 minutes out of Clarkson, 32 minutes out of Conley. Somebody asked about Conley. Conley's just one of those guys that seems rather unremarkable to me game to game from a DFS standpoint, but maybe once or twice a year he's gonna put a feather in his cap to help you take down a tournament. And then Beasley had 24 minutes, so that's something that I'm not super crazy in love with. But yeah, I don't know that. I think I get to some like supplementary shares of Clarkson and Markkinen. I can't really see myself over investing elsewhere. And then a little revenge game here for the other side, Gobert, right? A little bit more tangible. I think Gobert is one of those stands I took on opening night that kind of burned me. I did not expect him to be disinvolved in an offense, and I guess it's just, shame on me because I just had that Utah mindset, but I just thought Cat, Edwards, D-Russ. I didn't think Gobert was going to have 15 shot attempts, but 66% from the field. A lot of his shot attempts are going to be around the rim. 16 rebounds, a lot of Rudy Gobert-esque numbers there. So if Gobert is going to be a double-digit shot attempt center with 60-70% field goal rate because of his shot selection, maybe 8,600 is too cheap for him going forward on FanDuel, and we know he's a block getter. So I have more respect today for Gobert than I did on opening night. With that said, yeah, they wanted to get him involved. They went out there and got him. This team is probably stacked enough that where they're going to rotate spike games. But I think there is enough narrative here. Maybe it would be more if it was in Utah at 8,600 that 50 fantasy points wouldn't be the craziest, outlandish result for him. So I kind of like the thought of Gobert on FanDuel. If you got the D-Russ, Edwards, I certainly wouldn't push back on that. But it is a game that you would think that Minnesota is able to put away, unlike Denver. But Utah, hey, sometimes teams are just too dumb to know that they're supposed to suck, right? But I'm leaning more so just the tier 3 shares of Gobert, Clarkson, Markkanen, with Markkanen and Gobert probably being higher owned for me on FanDuel. Talent struggled in the first game. He's adjusting to playing with Gobert's numbers should be down to start the season. That's very possible. Gobert revenge game. Yeah, I like the revenge narratives more in front of their old crowds. All right, let's get on to the next game here. By the way, if you guys want access to my spreadsheet, my projections, my worksheets, the prop projections, all that good stuff, on top of we do NFL content as well. It's all behind the paywall at rundfs.com. If you go to rundfs.com, click VIP memberships. There's several membership packages available. Each membership comes with a voucher towards Fantasy Cruncher, towards a subscription to there. I use Fantasy Cruncher as an optimizer. We have today's the last day for the coupon code NICE, NICE, for the season pass or the 2023 year pass, and those come with huge vouchers. $3.99. You could use the coupon code NICE. So I'll show you for an example. Have a coupon, click, and then NICE. That'll bring it down to $3.69, and remember, you're getting a $100 voucher to Fantasy Cruncher, so it's like a $2.69 rebate deal for the full season. So I think that's a huge value. And the same with the year pass. It's going to take $30 off the sticker and then $150 credit. So if you guys want a cool way to support the stream, support the channel, and get a little bit more, I think the rundfs.com membership is the way to do it. And when you do get a membership, click VIP portal. There'll be links to the spreadsheet and a link to the rundfs.com VIP Discord. Now, this is the premium Discord. And before lock, I'm chilling right here. This NBA voice chat. I'm going to click it. There's me here. And we have the gang in there hanging out, shooting the breeze, making some lineups. So that's been part of my daily process for over half a decade now. So come join us. Morant, Bane, Trey Murphy, Jay Smith, Aldama, Hero, Vassell, Kuzma. What do you think about this lineup for adjustments? I would like more centers and more bigs, but I don't think you're off base. The 3-man Grizzly stack. Hero, Vassell, Kuzma. Yeah. I like to have a little bit more beef in there, but I don't mind that. Dallas Child, I appreciate that sub, man. Welcome to the channel. You guys are killing with the subs too. All right, Denver spread. What are we working with here? We got a 229 total, 5-point spread in favor of the Golden State Warriors. Project starting 5 for the Nuggets: Jamal Murray, maybe, right? KCP, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic taking on Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney. 229 total, 5-point spread from the Department of Redundancy Department. Let's go pull up the Denver Nuggets injury news and notes. Jamal Murray questionable left knee injury management. First Friday's game is the first back-to-back for the Nuggets, who host the Thunder Saturday night. So it would not be a surprise if Murray were held out one of the matchups. The fact that he's on the injury report ahead of Friday's showdown with the Warriors means that it's possible that he gets the night off. If Murray doesn't play, Bones Highland becomes a player of greater importance. That's a blurb from NBC Sports Edge. So keep an eye on that. Let me add that to the sheet here for the notes. Questionable I probably am not that interested in Murray anyway this far out. 10 p.m. lock, not a lot of panic button swaps. There's a 2-hour gap between that T-Wolves game to the Warriors game. But it certainly would adjust a little bit of focus on Jokic. Jokic is fine in this matchup. I think we saw that last year. The main concern we're going to have here is the scoreboard, right? Versus Warriors. Let's go the last 10 games. Some 70s, a lot of 50s. 50s, of course, the more modest projection here. And like we saw on opening night, he's got a Q tag too. No, he's probable. Okay. 46 fantasy points, 33 minutes, 17 shot attempts. You might have an assist bump here based on Jamal Murray news. And then if it's a SAT question, right? If the Nuggets compete, if this, then that. If that happens, then Jokic is probably a catalyst in this, especially if Jamal Murray is out. So I don't mind it. At the same time, I do think on this slate, being as big as it is and being that Jokic is literally in a league of his own price-wise, the only 11K player, he's going to have to, without a doubt, be the highest scorer on the slate to be optimal, but probably has to maybe have a 10-point gap. You know what I'm saying? Because we can fill the holes rather nicely with a balanced lineup, and there's not a ton of 3K must-haves that were popping up for me. So will that keep his ownership at bay? Maybe. And will that allow us to be there and not feel like we have to make a stressful decision? Possibly. He's my highest raw fantasy point scorer on the slate. I like the guy behind him, John Morant, a little bit more points per dollar, but he's certainly in play. The Warriors opening night, ring night, we had a little bit of an okie doke situation with Steve Kerr and his potential minutes. Announced that he didn't think that his team was ready to play 30-plus minutes, and then he was like, oh, okay, but two of them are Steph Curry, who played 32 minutes, and he was the only guy on the team to break 30 minutes, really. So with that said, I'm probably not going to be super invested in the Warriors, though I would say Steph Curry would be the most intriguing option. Wiggins is 6,700. I need the 40-plus. Draymond at under 6K has a shot at 30-plus, but I just don't feel myself making anyone here a priority. But I guess it comes down to your game script, man. A 5-point spread seems kind of light, but I get it if Jokic claws him into the game, you know what I mean? What are you guys doing with this game? What do you think about Yankee fans yelling they wanted Houston? This guy. I mean, we did want Houston. It's not like Houston's smoking us, by the way. Relax. Anyway, I don't got time to rant, but I'm going to remember that. I don't want to play Jokic for the 10K knowing Warriors could blow Denver out with Murray likely out. Yeah, but remember, Jokic did put the team on his back against the Warriors last year. We saw several games where they're competitive. But yeah, I get what you're saying. A healthy Warriors team could blow anybody out. Anybody. Jokic used to go out with Murray out. I agree. Could. And remember, Murray's not for sure out. And you would think, if I'm a coach, what do I need Jamal Murray more for? To compete with the Warriors or to compete with the Oklahoma City Thunder? If you're playing to win, I think I'd rather have him here. But, yeah. All right, one game left on the docket. Let's put in the total. If you guys are going to get out of here momentarily, all I ask is hit that thumbs up for me. Double check, see if you're subscribed. We will certainly be back Monday through Friday with more streams. Maybe, I don't know, you guys want to do a stream tomorrow? What is my schedule tomorrow? I have 2 pieces of content tomorrow for Stochastic for No House Advantage. But my afternoon could be free. Would you guys hang out with me on a Saturday? NBA schedule. Tomorrow. I think it's a more modest slate anyway. Right? And we did a lot of Saturday slates last year. So, depending on the 76ers game and the Spurs, it could be 2, 4, 6, 8 game slate, which is what I've been begging for. Would you guys hang out with me on a Saturday to talk some basketball? Maybe I can find a co-host. A couple fun games here. Maybe. Do you remember all of the previous years? This guy. Murray had so many injuries, never likely to be cautious with him. I definitely agree with them being cautious, but that's why they said he might sit one of the legs of a back-to-back, you know? What do you think about Boston's game and Bam? I think he will have a good game today. So that game just on paper feels very defensive, slow paced. But like I said, 2 negatives sometimes equal positive for DFS. All right, Blazers and the Suns. 224 total, 5-point spread in favor of the Phoenix Suns. We've got Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, DeAndre Ayton up against Dame, Dalla, Anthony Simons, Josh Hart, Jeremy Grant, Yusuf Nurkic. So just a 5-point spread. Suns certainly look like they got some grease on the nuts to do. Let me put Cameron Johnson's full name here. Cool. I liked Dame a lot in game 1. They didn't really move his price on FanDuel. He's still at 8K, so I'm probably still going to be a sucker at this price point. At home, little statement game here, a little late night hammer. At 9,500 on DraftKings, I don't feel like we're getting a great deal, but I do think a median projection of 40 I can live with as a late night hammer, and I love sweating Dame Dollar by himself in the fourth quarter. 36 minutes against Sacramento, 20 real points. Let me see, more in-depth game log for Dame. Phil, thanks for the sub, man. Welcome to the channel. 37 minutes. Took 18 shot attempts, shot very poorly, 27%, 1 for 8 from 3. So I'm fine with getting back to Dame here at 8K on FanDuel. You can make a really fun balanced lineup, huh? Like, I want Ja for sure. Dame's in the mix. You could go Beal at 8,200. You could still get DeRozan. Oh, no, DeRozan's 9,600, so that's a little bit more. Dude, I think all these guys could turn in, 45, 50 point games. I think they're underpriced. And then we talked about Aldama being the value play of the century. Your boy about to make some some fun FanDuel lineups. Dame didn't look right in preseason for the first game. It was like playing at home and it's the season opener. Yeah. Maybe cautious move, Bones ownership also. Yeah, 2/3. I would say, like I said, if I was a coach, I want Murray tonight, not OKC for the dub. But if you're thinking with a potential late night value that open up, I don't disagree with the thought of Highland. I guess what I'm saying is, what's the panic button that you hit if Murray does play? You know what I mean? 16 minutes last game. Oh, shoot. What do you do? Like, who do you swap to in that scenario? I guess you would probably set up a 2v2 because you only have 2 late games, and that 2-hour window is not going to guarantee you enough cushion. You get what I'm saying? Denver. So, Highland 16. Yeah, it was direct back up to Murray. I agree with you that Highland without Murray feels like a great play, but we don't know for sure if Murray is out. And if he does play at 4K on DK, I just don't know where we go from there. But I think you could set up a 2v2. It probably involves Jokic, right? I don't know. Hart looks good with 35 minutes. Josh Hart, probably going to be a point per minute. Really, really cheap. Under 6K on both sides. Going to stuff the stat sheet. So I definitely don't mind that. I have him for 36 minutes, actually. Dual position eligible on DK. Point per minute. What you see is what you get. Maybe not going to drop 50 alongside Dame and Simons and Nurkic, but stuff in the stat sheet, something you like to see. And then what was the deal with Nurkic on opening night? Thoughts on Reddish tonight? He wasn't in my radar, but we'll look at him for sure. 25 minutes for Nurkic. Did not close, by the way. They closed out with Drew Eubanks. Or no, not Drew, Justice Winslow. Jeremy Grant, I guess, stretched out. Hard stretched out, so they closed small to match up with Sabonis closed out. So I guess they just wanted to go smaller without Nurkic, unless Nurkic was just gassed, right? So maybe, yeah, we were responsible for this minute projection. So maybe maybe some of these minutes for Grant end up being center minutes, which might be a little bit more valuable. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's definitely a situation to watch. All right, but I'll take Dame on FanDuel. Phoenix Suns-wise, nothing screaming at me like I have to have. Devin Booker popped off for a good game against Portland's backcourt. Wouldn't shock me. And that's probably it for here. All right, let's field questions. If you guys are getting out of here, just hit that thumbs up for me. I'm going to hang out for another 5 to 10 minutes for those of you that want to discuss some stuff. And then we'll get out of here. And then maybe we'll do one tomorrow. We'll do what's the likes at? If we have over 100 likes, we don't. If we get 100 likes, we'll do a stream tomorrow. How about that? That's a deal. That's the deal I'm looking for. All right. Jim had asked about Cam Reddish. So Reddish, 4,500, played 28 minutes opening night against Memphis. Was a little bit underwhelming. Let's go pull up the not underwhelming. He was fine. I don't know why I said underwhelming. New York. I think the matchup's going to be a lot slower. Maybe not a lot slower, but a little bit. He did play the entire overtime period, so that 28 could be 23, which takes a little bit of steam off. And then the Grizzlies' defensive metrics we mentioned were not what we should think they are based on last season without Brooks, Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. So the matchup was a little bit better. Detroit's going to run a little bit slower pace. So I don't hate him, but there's nothing really that would say that I need to make him a priority off of one game. I have him at... What am I doing? I have him at 25 minutes, a little less than a point per minute. So I don't have any real reason to be there, Jim. Overtime diminishes the minutes that he did play a little bit, and then the matchup was maybe a little bit more favorable, if that makes sense. I'll take Ish over Bones with no ownership. Bones ain't playing the entire game. Remember, Ish didn't barely play at all. But I don't think that's a bad take. But I also think we're leaning way. I don't want to be wrong, but I feel like we're leaning way more to Murray being out for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Halliburton or Dame Dollar on FanDuel gun. Man, I'm thinking that's a tough one. I love them both. Matter of fact, Halliburton shooting guard. Oh my God, bro, this is like my favorite backcourt on FanDuel tonight. If I can make this work, you will see me in the streets with Morant, Lillard, Beal, Halliburton. There's so much oomph at these price points, and I mean, I guess Morant has to drop 50, but I love the spot for him. Good Lord, bro. Good Lord. Any love for Horford? Not like especially here. Tougher matchup today. It would be hashtag DFS for him to thrive today versus opening night where it was chalk and just kind of busted. But at 5,400, if you think 30 plus is in the cards, I certainly don't think that's not possible. My projection on Horford is 27-25. So, meh, right? Nothing unremarkable, but not like it's a bust. Horford's production goes up when Williams is out. Williams is out again tonight. Yeah, a little hot hand stove action from night one. What up, Jordan? Thoughts on Bruno Fernando? I think he's fine. From a DFS standpoint tonight, I think if I'm going to be this enthralled with Morant, Lillard, Bill, you know what I mean? Like the top end guards. Usually I build backwards. I go center heavy and then get lower on the guards. I just think we have a lot of opportunity at value at the guard position today, where if Damian Lillard was 9,500, if Bradley Beal was 9,500 today, no one would think any different. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense. We're getting him at 8K, 8,200, so it just seems like a really good spot. So that will leave me looking for more value at the power forward center spot. Bruno Fernando, if he's going to be 25 plus minutes, like we saw on opening night, starting over Şengün, I don't think you're off base here. The 7 assists, is that really part of his game? Is that something we should expect? Bruno Fernando, DKP by game log. Let's go last. Let's go with 10 minutes. Last 60 games. I have to look at his like assists per 36 or whatever, but that might be a little bit fake. But no, 7. Yeah, that's a little bit fake. 7 assists might be really, really fake. All things considered, almost triple doubled. So maybe we come off the assist a little bit, but still, I think the opportunity there per minute for value is fine. Williams out for at least for 2 months. Out. Any rookies look good tonight? I think Banchero would go right back to him. Fernando has a tough matchup against Adams. Yeah, but Isaiah Hartenstein did great. But I don't disagree. I think in the post, yeah, it's a tough spot. But I'm not running from Adams. Is I guess what I'm getting at that price point, right? I like under 5K center for 25, 30 minutes. You fall into rebounds, right? If it was like a little bit more expensive, I'd have a little bit more pushback. But I don't need a whole lot at that price point. All right, did I miss any questions, chat? If I missed your question, definitely like throw it at me again, and we'll do some digging. Otherwise, we'll start wrapping it up. If you're on Twitter, twitter.com/gundackers, where you can get at me. If you tweet at me, usually I do as best as I can to respond to you with some thoughts. And then, like I said, we have a free Discord. You should jump in there. Links in the description below. And then I'm always in the rundfs.com premium Discord. And for the next couple of hours, I'll be in the voice chat, the NBA voice chat, talking picks. I'll also try to collect some of my favorite PrizePicks plays, Favorite cash game plays for DraftKings. I don't really play cash, Jordan, so I don't want to put you off the beaten path. Grant for Hammer. You like that? I'm with that. Mathurin. I do like Mathurin. We talk about rookies. On top of Banchero, Mathurin looks like he should project decently enough. What was his FanDuel price? Bro, I'm leaking my lineup. Oh, they list him at shooting guard as well as Terry Taylor. That's funny. All right, boys. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Friday afternoon, man. Hey, tell somebody out there you love them because I love you. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.